Hey everyone, before we get started, I've got some exciting news. My second video is now live on my new channel, Index Unknown. That's where I dive into the hidden side of history, the secrets, the theories, the conspiracies, the things they don't want you to know. This new video is all about Operation Highjump, officially a post-war expedition to Antarctica. But some say it was about a hidden Nazi base, UFO encounters, or even the Hollow Earth. The link's below if you're interested. Check it out after this video. Now, let's get into today's story. They called him the Liberator, the twice-born, the stranger who came from the East. People remembered the ivy crown, the flowing hair, and the staff tipped with a pine cone. They remembered the processions at night, torches blazing, drums pounding, voices lifted in chants that blurred the line between joy and frenzy, and always, at the center, was him. Dionysus was not like the other Olympians. He was never fully at home on Olympus. He was born of a mortal woman, wandered foreign lands, and moved among outsiders, the misfits, the forgotten, the restless. He carried with him both delight and terror. His gifts could lift the heart, dissolve sorrow, and inspire visions. But to resist him was to invite madness. To some, he was the god of wine and revelry. To others, a force of unshackling who stripped away order and left chaos in its place. In his name, people danced, sang, and raged through the night, surrendering to a power greater than themselves. This is the story of Dionysus, god of wine, ecstasy, and madness. Dionysus's story begins in fire and secrecy. He was the son of Zeus, king of the gods, and Semele, a mortal princess of Thebes. Their union was not born in peace. Hera, the jealous queen of Olympus, made sure of that. When Semele became pregnant, Hera disguised herself as an old woman and planted a seed of doubt in her mind. If Zeus truly was who he claimed to be, why would he not show himself in his full divine glory? Semele, persuaded, asked Zeus for a single favor, to see him as he truly was. Bound by his oath, Zeus revealed himself in all his blazing power, and the sight was too much for a mortal to bear. In an instant, Semele was consumed by lightning, her mortal body reduced to ash. Yet in her womb still lived the unborn child. Zeus refused to let that child perish. He plucked him from Semele's body, and in desperation, sewed the infant into his own thigh. There the child grew until it was time to be born once again, this time from the flesh of the king of gods himself. That was why Dionysus was called twice born, a god who carried both mortal fragility and divine immortality. But Hera's hatred did not end with Semele's death. She sent her wrath against the child, hounding him from the moment he was born. To protect him, Zeus disguised Dionysus as a girl and entrusted him to Hermes, who carried him away in secret. Some stories say he was hidden in the care of the nymphs of Mount Nysa, raised in the wild among ivy, vines, and the sound of rushing streams. Others tell of an even stranger beginning. In Orphic traditions, Dionysus is not simply the son of Semele, but an older god reborn. They spoke of Zagreus, the child of Zeus and Persephone, who was torn apart by the Titans. From the ashes of that violent death, Zeus saved a spark and breathed it into a new form. In this telling, Dionysus was more than a god of wine. He was the god of death and rebirth itself, the cycle of destruction that leads to renewal. Whatever the version, one truth remained the same. Dionysus was never fully at home among the Olympians. His birth was marked by secrecy, his childhood by wandering, and his very nature by contradiction. From the moment he drew his first breath, he was both divine and mortal, outsider and immortal heir, destined to walk a path that would unsettle gods and mortals alike. The image of Dionysus changed with time, shifting like the god himself. In the earliest days, he was shown as a powerful, mature figure, broad-shouldered, bearded, and robed, a god of the harvest and the vine. He looked like a king who commanded respect, carrying the thyrsus, his fennel staff crowned with a pine cone, a symbol of his dominion over growth and vitality. But as centuries passed, his image softened. Artists began to depict him not as a bearded lord, but as a youthful, androgynous figure, his face smooth, his frame slender, his hair long and flowing like waves of dark wine. His eyes were radiant, both alluring and unsettling, reflecting the strange duality of his nature, joy and danger, beauty and madness. To look upon him was to feel pulled in, like a moth to flame. His attire was unlike the stern armor of Athena or the regal robes of Hera. Dionysus often appeared draped in loose garments, dyed in rich purples and reds, echoing the colors of wine. Around his head twined a crown of ivy or vine leaves, sprouting with grapes, as if nature itself bent to his presence. Sometimes he wore the skins of wild beasts, panther, leopard, or bull, signs of his untamed side. Animals followed in his wake. Panthers padded at his heels, their golden eyes shining in torchlight. Serpents coiled around his arms or slithered in the ivy he wore. Bulls, with their raw strength and primal energy, were sacred to him. Wherever he appeared, the air carried the scent of crushed grapes, the pulse of drums, and the uneasy sense that order itself was slipping away. Unlike other Olympians, Dionysus's appearance was never fixed. He could come as a radiant youth or as a wild man crowned in ivy. He could be gentle, coaxing mortals into joy and abandon, or terrible, eyes blazing with frenzy. This shifting image was not weakness, it was his essence. Dionysus was transformation itself, a god who defied boundaries, slipping between beauty and terror, man and beast, mortal and divine. Dionysus's place among the Olympians was complicated from the very beginning. He was the son of Zeus, yet his mortal mother set him apart from the rest of the divine family. Hera, who despised him before he even drew breath, saw him as a living reminder of Zeus's betrayal. Her hatred followed him all his life, shaping him into the restless god who wandered far from Olympus, often in the company of mortals rather than gods. Despite this, he was never alone. Dionysus was raised in secrecy, watched over by nymphs, and later guided by Silenus, the old satyr who became his foster father, teacher, and constant companion. Silenus embodied both wisdom and drunkenness, and in him we see a reflection of Dionysus himself, a mixture of insight and chaos, always teetering between comedy and tragedy. In love, Dionysus was just as complex. He took both male and female lovers, a sign of his nature as a god unconstrained by mortal customs. His most enduring partner was Ariadne, the Cretan princess abandoned by Theseus on the island of Naxos. To Ariadne, Dionysus gave not only his love, but immortality itself, raising her from despair into the halls of the gods. She alone is remembered as his true consort, his queen among the vines. Other companions and loves drifted through his stories. Some tell of his affection for Amphilos, a beautiful youth whose tragic death gave rise to the grapevine itself. Others speak of his many children, by Ariadne, by mortal women, and even by nymphs, though few of these offspring carried lasting fame. And then there were his followers, perhaps the most important family he ever claimed. Satyrs with goat legs and mocking laughter, maenads with wild eyes and ivy-wreathed hair, and countless mortals who abandoned the rigid structures of society to join his ecstatic rituals. These companions were more than revelers. They were his army, his congregation, his proof that Dionysus was not a god of Olympus alone, but of every field, forest, and street where people longed to escape the weight of order. Thus, Dionysus's relationships tell the story of a god always standing at the threshold. Hated by Hera, legitimized by Zeus, loved by Ariadne, and followed by outsiders, he belonged everywhere and nowhere at once. He was a son of Olympus, but his truest family was made of mortals, spirits, and exiles, those who, like him, walked between worlds. To understand Dionysus is to accept contradiction. He was joy and terror, life and death, order and chaos. Mortals who worshipped him called him a liberator, a god who lifted sorrow and loosened the chains of daily life. But those who resisted him, who mocked his rights or denied his divinity, found themselves undone, driven into madness or torn apart by frenzy. At his heart, Dionysus was the god of wine. Not the drink itself, but everything it meant: celebration, release, the dissolving of boundaries. Wine brought laughter, loosened tongues, and blurred the sharp edges of grief. Yet the same cup could lead to violence, delirium, and ruin. In that way, wine mirrored Dionysus perfectly, a gift that could heal or destroy, depending on how it was embraced. But his dominion stretched far beyond the vine. He was the god of theater, of masks and transformation, where mortals became someone else under torchlight and songs. He was the patron of actors and